30 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Not some of us. 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 We have 1 more minute. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so hard. Oh no, I have a question. What? You know the slide that says like stay tuned to the end so that we can give a video? Is it at the end or just Miss Lander? Go.
Good morning, Brandon, staff and students, and thank you for tuning in to BTV. Today is Thursday, February 13th, 2020. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of quiet reflection.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is day 1A of the specials rotation.
And now for today's weather. Right now, the temperature is 62 degrees and will remain steady all day with a forecast of more scattered showers. Looks like another day that we will probably be playing inside for recess.
Our lunch menu today is crispy chicken ranch wrap, crispy fish sandwich, grilled cheese and tomato soup, and black-eyed peas and rice.
Our IB Learner Profile attribute of the month for February is balance.
What does it mean to be balanced?
Students who are balanced work to make sure they are taking care of their intellectual, physical, and emotional needs.
What does it look like to be balanced?
Take care of your intellectual needs. Be open to learning new things inside and outside of school. If all you read are books about baseball, try a book about something or someone different. If all you play is Fortnite, try to also do something else to stimulate your brain.
To take care of your physical needs, be sure to get exercise and eat balanced meals. If all you eat are candy and potato chips, try fruits and carrot sticks too. Also make sure you get plenty of sleep. And to take care of your emotional needs, if you like and need to be around friends, reach out for a play date. If you prefer to be alone in your own thoughts after a long day, that's okay too. The important thing is to make sure that you are taking care of yourself to be as healthy as possible.
February's Black History Month. Black History Month is celebrated each year to acknowledge the achievements of African Americans and the role that they have played in making America what it is today. The city of Atlanta continues to play a major role in the history of African Americans. It has been the center of black wealth, higher education at historic black colleges like Spelman and Morehouse colleges, the cradle of civil rights movement, and home to Martin Luther King Jr. Many schools in APS are named after influential black leaders who shaped African American history in America.
Today we are going to showcase Frederick Douglass, the man whom Douglass High School in APS got its name. Several of our teachers graduated from Douglass High School. Let's see if you can discover who they are. Frederick Douglass was born in slavery. As a child slave, her persuaded his mother as his master's wife to teach him to read, and she did. Over time, he began to read books about how horrible the slave life was, which opened his mind to and depended on his hatred of slavery. Eventually, he escaped slavery from the state of Maryland and made his way to freedom in New York City, and a short time later settled in the state of Massachusetts, where slavery had been outlawed.
People in the North who were fighting to get rid of or abolish slavery asked Frederick to speak about what life was as a slave was really like. As the word got around and educated Frederick really was, he was asked to speak all over the country and to other countries like England and France. He even wrote several books and started a newspaper called the North Star that presented articles to persuade the people that the evils of slavery must be stopped. He devoted his life to finding ways to end slavery. He helped Harriet Tubman smuggle slaves into Canada while traveling through the North was no longer safe for them. During the Civil War, President Lincoln frequently sought of this advice. One suggestion he gave President Lincoln was to give weapons to former slaves who were living in the North so they could fight and help end slavery.
At the end of the announcements today, stay tuned for a short video about Frederick Douglass if your teacher has time to show you. Did you know that the word recycle means to return to be used again? We have many large blue recycling bins around our school to put paper and plastic. We also added a new bin to each campus, a marker recycling box. This will help to make sure that the plastic marker coverings do not end up in our landfill and harm our environment. When your marker is no longer working, drop them off in the box just like the one behind us. Just make sure you have your teacher's permission first. Let's do our part to help the planet Earth by recycling used and dried out markers. In addition to February being Black History Month, it is also a month to recognize the mother tongue of others.
Mother tongue? Why are we recognizing our mother's tongue?
We are not celebrating the real tongues of our mothers. A mother tongue means the language you were born speaking. Did you know we have the largest variety of students who are born speaking a different language other than English in all of APS? We have students whose mother tongue is Spanish, French, Chinese, Russian, Tagalog, and several others.
To celebrate this special month, for one BTV each week, we will be having announcements in English and in mother tongue. Stay tuned tomorrow because BTV will be brought to us in English and our 3 anchors in French. You don't want to miss it. I'm curious what the announcements will sound like in French. The French announcements will come first, followed immediately by our English announcements.
And now for today's joke of the day. What did the girl bee say to the boyfriend for Valentine's Day?
I don't know. I'm all buzz about you.
Nope, I love being with you, honey. Ha 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 ha.
This concludes today's episode of BTV. I'm Mary Emmett.
I'm Luca.
I'm Sam. Thank you for
watching. Have a thrilling Thursday. Bye.
One thing I like to do every week is read my favorite comic books. Don't get me wrong, I like to read other books too, but I love reading comic books and seeing what my favorite superheroes are up to. But what about you? Do you like reading comic books? Maybe you like playing video games and you have to read what is on the screen to pass on to the next level. No, maybe you like going on the internet and playing games or talking with people. Well, whether you know it or not, you're reading. But what if you weren't allowed to read? I know that sounds like a silly question, but what if it were against the law for you to read? Well, in American history during slavery, African Americans were not allowed to read. It was against the law for slaves to read, or even have someone teach them how to read. This is where the next person in African American history I want to talk about stood up as a leader and an abolitionist. An abolitionist is someone who wanted slavery to be stopped, and they spoke out against people who used African Americans as slaves. Right now, that person I want to talk to you about is one of the most famous African American abolitionists by the name of Frederick Douglass. Known as the most recognized African American leader before the Civil War, Frederick Douglass was born a slave. He never knew his father and was separated from his mother earlier in life. This is where as a slave he moved from plantation to plantation until one slave owner's wife helped him learn the basics of reading. Now, like I said before, at that time, teaching slaves to read was against the law, and when her husband found out, he stopped her from teaching Frederick. Although he didn't have a teacher, Frederick was still smart. Frederick wouldn't be stopped in growing and learning how to read. He watched other white children who learned in school and taught himself how to read later. This got him into trouble because he also taught other slaves to read. When his master found out, he would beat Frederick because he did not want other slaves to learn reading like Frederick did. Frederick eventually stood up to the beatings and one day borrowed the papers of a free sailor and escaped to the North. When he arrived in the North, he found other people who were against slavery too. Like I talked about in the beginning, these people were called abolitionists. Frederick was really good at talking and speaking in front of people, and when he told the abolitionists about how he was treated as a slave, Frederick impressed them. Frederick later wrote a biography about his life. The biography told about everything that he went through in life. Many people read Frederick's biography, but this put him in danger because he was afraid that his master from the South would come to the North and capture him knowing he had escaped. This caused Frederick to escape to Britain. He would return years later once he had made enough money to purchase his freedom. Upon arriving back, Frederick spoke out during the Civil War. When it came to Frederick Douglass, he had respect all the way to the White House. Think about it like this. The president today is Barack Obama. Wouldn't it be cool if you could talk to Obama and he would listen to you? Well, Frederick Douglass had the ear of another famous president who would listen to him. That's right, Frederick Douglass gave advice to President Abraham Lincoln. Frederick convinced Lincoln to give more weapons to African Americans to help fight with the Union soldiers in the Civil War. Now, being a great leader in history, Frederick spoke out against the poor treatment of African Americans in the United States. Many looked at Frederick's life and thought, why didn't he just escape slavery and live out his days in peace as a free man? But that wasn't in the cards for Frederick. This was something that he knew he couldn't do and was not acceptable to just go out and live a free life while others were being treated poorly. So for standing up and speaking out against slavery and the poor treatment of African Americans, Frederick Douglass will always be one of the greats in African American history.